Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I might introduce myself as Martin Hynes, the Chief Executive of the European Science Foundation. And I'd like, first of all, to thank the Commission for inviting me to moderate this session. I'm very pleased to do so, since I share with our Commissioner the frustration over lack of action on the many issues that have been so exhaustively analysed. Whilst I am all in support of the redistribution of wealth on the basis of equity and fairness, I don't think it should be done on the basis of a slow slide into competitive backwaters. Reflecting on the forthright remarks of Commissioner Geoghegan-Quinn, I fully support her comments that what we face here in Europe is a growth crisis, and with her recognition that growth is the very lifeblood of the knowledge economy. It is with sadness that I note the decline in global impact of formerly great European brands and companies that indeed were national and European emblems. Despite my support, steadfast support for Nokia, I'm afraid it's far less significant than it used to be. Saab, Fiat, many other Irish and national examples are indicators of a downward slide in competitiveness. We have had some exceptional successes, including the continuing strong performance of EADS Aerospatiale. We need more of these, since with the great engineering and life sciences companies, our colleagues from Philips and so on, they are the essential drivers and the raison d'etre for our society to invigorate investment in research. I noticed last week that Bill Gates has called on the EU to double its research budget in 2014 to 2020. He said the nice thing about the money is that it's a kind of 2 for 1. You're employing people in Europe, you're building your scientific base, but you happen to be doing it focused on the diseases of the poorest. He was referring to investment in agriculture and health. Research Commissioner Geoghegan-Quinn met with Gates on the 23rd of January. On our first topic this afternoon, on the question of the research profession, I submit a proposition. We do not indeed have a shortage of researchers. We have a shortage of demand for researchers and for those research qualifications. I support this by evidence from many competitions with which I have been associated in the past. With reasonable conditions and remuneration, one can obtain top-class talent. As a colleague once commented to me, be careful when advertising supports for PhD and postdocs on a worldwide basis. It's like trying to fill a glass from a fire hydrant. We can obtain all the talent that we seek when we remove boundaries of nationality or citizenship. The huge question is whether that can lead to outcomes that society properly demands, the capture of the resulting benefits to the community that has made that investment. On the question of mobility, I can only re-emphasise the observations of Sir Keith O'Neill's. The linkage between enterprise and research actors is absolutely crucial, as is the continuing reform of the PhD as a mechanism. Much work has been done by the appropriate actors, such as the steering group on human resources and mobility, but more actions are necessary. In this regard, I admire the publications of Liru and observe that those under the leadership of Professor David Bogle of UCL commented, "It is talent, more than technology, that society or business needs from universities." In our own work, we keep hearing that industry requires more master's level interaction and wants to meet aspirant researchers at an earlier stage of the career. They want to meet them prior to the postdoc phase. In relation to open recruitment, I do not think that it is too controversial to observe that this concept is really most challenged at times of economic retrenchment. There are many stories of national schemes where there is an emphasis on national candidates. What can we do at a joint level to counter this trend? Surely it is not too much of a stretch of an imagination to suggest that we need an instrument like the Graduate Research Fellowship of the National Science Foundation in the US. At a federal level, they allocate about 1,000 awards per annum, using the Tennessee and National Oak Ridge Associated Universities. They are exceptionally attractive awards, and in a recent review, they commented that they were a hallmark programme for the NSF and critical to the mission of that agency. This could be facilitated by an agreed, trusted, and trust, as Paul Boyle had observed, is crucial to grant evaluation programmes, carried out at scale and with global reach. As Octavia Quintana has stated, single peer review is critical. I would argue that Marie Curie funding mechanisms have proven to be the most successful engagement by the Commission in shaping research careers. If we do consider an analogue to the Graduate Research Fellowship programme, then we do not have to consider that the community should fund the actual awards themselves, just support the overhead and instigation of running the competitions. At an informed guess, this should not be more than about 4% of allocated funds, themselves made available from national funding agencies committed to true openness. In relation to underutilised female talents and rights, I wonder how many of you know the name Felicity Ashton, or Aston rather. She recently completed the first unsupported, unaided crossing of Antarctica by a woman, nearly 1,600 kilometres under her own power and at temperatures down to 32 degrees below. This is a totally unbelievable achievement. And as a meteorologist, she knew what she was letting herself in for. With such sheer demonstration of commitment and achievement, how can we continue to underappreciate nearly half of our population? I was proud to have been associated with the ESF Gender Summit last November, a highly successful event, and to authorise the next summit as the incoming CE of ESF. At that summit, I met the representatives of NSF and Georgia Tech, and I'm always refreshed by their pragmatic and direct action, not simply further analysis. Again, I do not think that it would be improper to force distributions of success for female applicants to awards. It would indeed be a measure of our commitment to achieving the virtuous cycle of real success. But that is enough from me. It is time to introduce our speakers and to commence this session that I have been tasked with moderating. Each will have 3 minutes, and my trusty Nokia will time the 3, and we'll have ample time for interaction. So first up, Stefan Hermans from the European Commission, who I'm sure needs no further introduction. Stefan.